What's up, Raiders? Bionic here. Welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. What are we going to talk about? We're going to do Faction Wars Lizardmen 21, finally completed on my account as well, making this the 5th Faction Wars that I have completed so far. Okay, so today we're going to go over the run, then we're going to go over the gear sets, and I'm going to tie this with the video that I did yesterday, which was basically Faction Wars Simplified and sort of how I've started using these common sets. Okay, so we're gonna go back to my spreadsheet. I've worked on it a little bit, and then you guys will start to get a better picture, of what I've been trying to do so that I can simplify how I'm gonna complete all of this. All right, so let me first pull up the run, which I have right here. We're gonna put this on mute. We're going to fast forward because it does take a lot of time. Okay, so we're not going to cover it like in full details, but you guys will get the picture. So pretty simple-ish for the waves. This is one of the easier stages, I'm going to say. It's always more about the boss fight that I find is the hardest overall. So in here, what we see is just kind of slowly going through each of these champions. I do have my AoE stun set, not AoE stun set, but a stun set on this Basilisk right here. Okay, so that's one of the sets that I reuse. My Rosin is always geared for Clan Boss and Tag Arena, so I do not take him apart. The Skullsworn, as you'll see, is just leftover gear. I really don't care about this champion. He is important, but like, he's not there to deal damage. He's there to die. That's his only job. He's there to take the hits, especially against the boss, which I'll show you guys. My Skull Lord is built for Tag Arena, so he has a pretty solid shield set with high resistance. And then this Broadma has a daze set because I had one lying around. It had decent stats, and I thought, why not add maybe a little bit more crowd control? Maybe that would help. Although this guy could easily just have some like random pieces or another stun set that you might have already built for other factions. Okay, so but it still worked, and you know, I'm gonna say that I'm happy with the results, right? So who cares about getting the perfect gear? Second wave, kind of the same thing here. I'm just trying to figure out which champion I'm gonna go first. I think Hexia is the most dangerous in this one right here. She deals a lot of damage. Nazana can be quite annoying as well because she's gonna put the ally protection and a big shield. So like, you just want control, right? And the Basilisk with the stun also has a stun on the A2, and he has a self-revive, along with Broadma, which has a revive as well, along with Skullsworn, which has a revive from the Skull Lord. Okay, so to all of you guys who decided to skip the Skull Lord because you thought he wasn't a good fusion, he's allowed me to complete Faction Wars 21 for the Lizardmen. So second wave, kind of same thing here, just slowly but surely, just, you know, working on all of these champions. Pretty straightforward. So let's go forward in time a little bit so that we can complete this faster. All right, then we're gonna get to the boss fight. So the boss fight is not overly complicated or hard, but he does have this skill right here, which is remove all debuffs from this champion, place a True Fear on random enemy for 1 turn, and then place a stun debuff on all enemies except that one, and it can't be resisted. Okay, and he also is going to get a turn meter increase for every percentage of health that he drops. All right, so and then his A1 is literally ignore defense. Okay, so this guy will one-shot your champion. So how do you deal with that? Quite simply, with a Skullsworn. Okay, and what's really interesting, I think we'll see towards the end, is that once your Skullsworn is so low in health, below 50%, he's actually never really going to do his A2. He's always going to go for the kill. So in a way, you can somewhat, you know, bypass the AI by simply having a very low health Skullsworn. So I think, you know, at the first hit or two, he goes for my Basilisk. Even if my Basilisk goes down, that's not the end of the world. But at some point, he's only gonna go for my Skullsworn. So let's fast forward a little bit more here. Again, I'm trying to just, you know, minimize sort of like the amount of buffs that I'm putting on this guy. I think we're gonna have it here. He's gonna take a turn, and then he's gonna go for his Skullsworn, right? And then this would be up, okay? So pay attention, there's 1 turn left on this, so technically as his turn meter fills, he would kind of use this, but then he's just gonna go for the kill on my Skullsworn, which has no shield on, below 50%, and then that's it. That's the rest of the fight. I literally have nothing else to do but just keep, like, slowly but surely killing the boss, and he's always gonna kill the Skullsworn, and then he's Skull Lord is always gonna bring him back to life. So again, I'm not sure if something dictates him not using his A2. I think it has to do with the fact that the Skull Sworn is past a certain amount of health, and I think we'll see it here again. Okay, so technically he should be doing his A2, right? If there's certain debuffs on him. So right here, I went for a full turn meter reduction, so let's fast forward a little bit more. Because at some point, he will have a debuff on him from the A1 from the Skull Lord. And then he's still going to go for his A1. Okay, not right there. So right there, he goes for the Skull Sworn. Good enough. Sorry, I got to find the... Okay, here. We have this again. Okay, we have the heal reduction. And then as his turn meter fills up, like I said, he will be going for still his A1. So just being careful not to apply debuffs, right? That's what you want to prevent, I guess, this from happening. Maybe he needs a certain amount of debuffs. So there, boom, A1 again. Always on the Skull Sworn, okay? So he didn't use that A2 or whatever it was. Removes all debuffs from this champion. So I assume he needs to have maybe more than one, perhaps. Which is why you see that I'm somewhat skipping the A2 from Rosin for a while, because I'm thinking if I apply that, then he's going to do his A2, then it's going to screw me up, so how about I don't do it? So then we'll test it here again, where I did apply the decreased defense and the weaken, and there he goes. Boom. A1 again, okay, on the Skull Sworn. So, anyway, just a very easy way to do it. This literally worked on auto the next couple of times that I tried with this exact comp, exact gear, and it literally finished with 3 stars, okay? So if anything, this is a very safe build, and as you'll see with the gear, I mean, a lot of these champions are as is. I never really changed them. The only one that I do change is this Basilisk, which has that gear being shuffled around every now and then, okay? But anyway, that's basically it. Okay, so here we go. We're just about done. And I'm keeping the revive from Broadma all the way towards the end to just in case the turn meters don't line up. I got to revive the Skull Sworn. We're going to get a block damage, like right there. Boom. Okay, so then I'm pretty safe, right? So just in case, that's what I did. Then I went in for the kill. Whoever does it, I think it's the Rosin right here. And voila. 3 stars, Lizardmen faction completed on my account. All right. All that being said, let's now go over the gear of each of these champions. And obviously, I want you guys to let me know what you think, right, about all this. So my Skull Lord, I did a full build video on this guy before. He's sitting at 100,000 total power. He has some pretty interesting stats overall. We've got a decent amount of speed as well. I think that, to be honest, like all champions above 200 speed in Faction Wars will do very good, simply because you're outspeeding the enemy teams. If you have turn meter control on top of that, sometimes you can reach 3 turns before some of those champions even take 1 turn. So that's a great form of crowd control in a sense, right? We do have a good amount of health points here, but that's normal because we're wearing a shield set. We have a whole lot of resistance, but again, this is built for Tag Arena. It is not needed for Faction Wars, okay? So I'm not going to cover all these pieces here in detail, but I will say we do have a resistance banner with some speed. We do have a HP chest and then HP gloves. Okay, as for the skills, I did put a couple books in this guy, I said it before, with the content creator perks, because I think that in Tag Arena, this is actually pretty fun to watch. It also helps quite a bit for Faction Wars, I'm not gonna lie, but a 2-turn cooldown on his provoke makes him super annoying, and if you notice, I have about 220 accuracy, which is pretty solid. As for the Masteries, pretty straightforward. Unshakable being the most important, obviously, because we're building a very high resistance champion. Then we've got the Rosin here, which is built in Stalwart. This is for Clan Boss. Because I have a Battle Khazar, I don't have Leech, and because I also use him in Tag Arena in the same team as Skull Lord. So I also wanted this guy to have a decent amount of resistance, which I pretty much failed at. Okay, so he's sitting at, you know, not even 200, plus his aura, that puts him at 290. That is not enough. I need this guy to be well above 400, if not 500 total resistance, but I have a really hard time getting that amount of resistance, plus high crit rate, plus high crit damage, plus high defense, and a decent amount of speed for him to be tuned for my clan boss at the same time. So he's a little bit of a hybrid in the sense where he's doing a couple of different things, but it's still working out just fine. And as you saw in the run, like, he's not really dying. So anyway, I'm just going to go over his gear here real quick. We have defense percent chest, we have crit damage gloves, we've got some defense percent boots. Here we've got defense, obviously a banner, but like with a lot of HP resistance, right? Decent amount of speed, flat defense, crit damage, accuracy, of course. As for the skills, they are all done. This is the first champion that I ever maxed out on my account. As for the Masteries, Giant Slayer, this probably could be in the defense tree here, but I never really switched it around because I do like Master Hexer to extend the decreased defense and the weaken against the clan boss. So again, never really committed to switching this, but I suppose it could have been switched. For the Rosin, that's pretty much it. Then we're going to move on to the next one. We're going to have the Basilisk. Okay, so here's one of the champions that has his gear being switched around, like I said before. So I came up with this sort of like universal stun set in a sense, but it does have a little bit more of attack percent. So I'm going to call this one sort of like my attack stun nuke set, if that makes any sense, where I'm above 200 speed. And I can quickly show you guys my spreadsheet. Okay, I've shown this before, but like this is this set right here. So it's a stun slash nuke, attack percent based. It has over 200 plus speed. In fact, I'm trying to build all of these to have over 200 speed. And then like my Senecia will get this one. My Basilisk will get this one. There's 5 pieces that are there being shuffled around, but the gloves come from typically my Foley, okay? Because they're really good gloves. They fit well with the speed chest. So like, why bother trying to rank up another pair of gloves when I can just use these for the time being, all right? So crit damage gloves, we have attack percent chest with some speed, just overall speed with some accuracy boots. Then we have decent shield here, no speed, but it does have some very interesting universal stats for either defense or attack percent based. Here we have a helm with some speed, crit rate, defense, resistance, not the best, but whatever. Here we have speed and crit rate. Okay, then we have attack ring, we have crit damage amulet, and we have accuracy banner. And then here's what I do. I max out the gear, but I'm trying not to have to max out the accessories, right? So I'm saving a lot of silver by building a set that has enough accuracy so that this guy can actually land his stun, right? And then he has the stun from the set, which he can also do on top of that, making him a very good crowd control champion in general. So here are the total stats. Obviously, this will differ a little bit from one champion to the next because they don't all have the same base speed, but we have a respectable 73% crit rate, 214% crit damage, and above 220 accuracy, which I think is plenty for all the PvE content. As for the skills, they are all done. And then for the Masteries, here they are. So I originally built this guy to be somewhat of a nuker for a blender build for the Spicy Wing contest. Okay, so a while back, which is why I kind of maxed him out, although I don't think it is needed. Okay, you really just want him to be in there for the crowd control aspect of his kit. So I went with Helm Smasher. Again, this could sort of be optimized to be a little bit better. You might not even need full Masteries on this guy to complete that stage, but here's what I'm using currently with, like I said, Helm Smasher being the T6. Then we can do Broadmo over here, which like I said has a daze set. Again, maybe not the best on him. Also not that fast, could be a lot faster. A support champion like this for Faction Wars, I'd say aim for 230 plus, maybe 250. So if you have a set like this that's just lying around, that might be best. It could be Relentless as well. This could have worked. But anyway, let's go over each piece here real quick. We do have some speed. We have some speed, crit rate, defense percent. That's not too bad. Speed, accuracy, crit damage. We have defense percent gloves, defense percent chest, with some, you know, not so great stats overall. We've got speed boots, we've got HP ring, defense amulet, and we've got an accuracy banner, all right? Total stats sitting at just under 200 speed, and then accuracy 245. I guess that's the only thing that really matters. Having also a decent amount of HP. Obviously having this guy higher than the Skullsworn, but that's pretty easy to do because the Skullsworn is at level 50, right? As for the skills, they're not all done. I suppose I could maybe finish this guy eventually, but what I'm doing is I'm waiting until I fuse more copies of this guy to then put him in here as books, all right? So every now and then when you have a couple of extra champions lying around and you can do an extra fusion of Broadmud that counts for like 350 points in a champion chase tournament, and then the copies, you just burn them as skills, okay? So that's what I've been doing. And then for the Masteries, I'm doing this here, Fearsome Presence, because I thought maybe to add a little bit more crowd control. So again, maybe, you know, don't just blindly copy this, but I think that overall as a support champion, defense and support is the way to go. Pretty straightforward. And then finally, we're going to do our level 50 Skullsworn. which is one of the rare champions that I use at level 50 on my account, Reliquary, Tender, and Renegade being the only other two right now. So this guy was going to get a somewhat destroy set. I even forgot to put a chest piece on him, so, you know, whatever. I guess it works anyway, so the pieces really don't matter, okay? At this point, you just want him to be there to take a couple of hits and die, and I suppose it's a good thing that he doesn't have too much HP so that he dies from the boss, although I'm pretty sure the boss would one-shot him anyway with some better gear on. We have attack here, really doesn't matter, defense here. So again, don't really need to copy this. The skills are maxed out because I have so many rare tomes. What else was I going to do with them anyway? And then no masteries because, again, you do not need this, okay? So that's basically it for the team itself. Then for the Great Hall, this is what I have. Obviously, you have to factor this in because it does help tremendously. And when I presented the other guy's video yesterday, when I first recorded, I didn't have a screenshot of his Great Hall, but you saw his Great Hall in there. It is not that impressive. I'm not saying he didn't do a good job. I'm just saying that it's not as advanced as mine, okay? So I thought you'd need a really solid Great Hall overall. Turns out, not even, okay? Not even. It's all about control, speed, turn meter boost, turn meter reduction, the whole thing, right? That is what matters the most for you to complete Faction Wars, and this is another great example of me applying this with these so-called sort of like universal sets. Okay, so I got a couple more that I'm building or that I gotta, you know, fill out, and I'll keep updating you guys as I complete this. But anyway, to finish it off, my Lizardmen team was Rosin in this so-called, we'll say, Lifesteal Cruel. In this case, it's a Stalwart set. The Skull Lord is in the so-called Shield set. For a stun nuke, we've got the Basilisk. A Relentless / stun, it was the Broadma, although mine had a Daze set. And then for a Relentless extra set, I could have the Skullsworn, but it was not needed. So I'm not gonna shuffle that gear around, pay that silver if it's not needed. It worked this way, it's gonna stay like this. Only really one champion had his gear shuffled around. It was the Basilisk, which was on my Sinesha before, okay? So guys, that's gonna be it. It's a relatively long video, but I wanted to cover a couple of things. So do let me know what you think in the comments below. Have you completed the Lizardmen faction so far or not yet? As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you later.